And I know we've talked about Jamil a bunch over this last year, but going back to when you were scouting him, how much did you know what you were getting with him, and to what extent has he exceeded expectations this year?
Yeah, no, it was an interesting study. Obviously, his history, playing quarterback and some other positions coming up, and then yeah, the film from last year, you could see some of the explosion and talent that was there. You could also tell that he was still a little raw, and we like kind of the natural talent and kind of the arc that he was on in terms of his trajectory, and that was, I think, the key thing that got us interested in the beginning. And then once we got to know him, and you got to see like how smart he is, articulate, very hard work, and very driven, like we felt like he really fit. And so, yeah, he's been obviously tremendous. He's also really emerged as a leader. He's been very vocal, has really kind of taken a leading role in kind of the locker room, our team, our defense, and which has been very welcome. I mean, I think he's really established himself as a key figure on this team.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Connor?
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
With Mekhi Levin, we saw him working a little bit with the defensive backs yesterday. Is that just part of the emergency contingency plan at that spot? Is that maybe a sign that he could potentially switch from receiver to DB in the future? And have you ever, in your experience, had a guy go both ways on offense and defense at the skill spots?
No, he's a receiver. He's going to play receiver here. It's pretty common. I mean, you work all types of different contingencies. We have offensive players that work some defensive things from a contingency standpoint and vice versa. So yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. We probably have 10 different guys on this team that have the ability in emergency scenario to play both ways, and he's one of them just with his background. But no, he's his future here is certainly a receiver. And in my history, we've had a lot of contingencies and a lot of guys work it. I'm trying to think. We have a couple of defensive linemen that have played situationally on the offensive side and vice versa, but not very often with a skill player. It's not easy to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany?
Hey, Lincoln, offense is only 9 for, I think, 28 in the last three games on third down. What are you kind of seeing in terms of execution on those critical situations, and maybe even kind of what are you evaluating in terms of your own play calls on those situations?
Yeah, the biggest issue that we've had on it is we've been in way too many third and longs and several extra longs, and that's been I think that's been really the biggest problem. I mean, you sit there and play in a ton of third and longs, that's going to be the case. Like, I mean, shoot, the last several games we've hardly ran any third and short plays. I mean, and that's good third down teams. One, you don't get into third downs, and two, you get into the third downs where percentage wise that the offense has some type of advantage, and those are your shorts and your your more medium normal type downs. And we've been in a ton of third and longs, and obviously you want to be better in those, but you're always, I mean, if you'd be the best team in the country if you convert 30% of your third and longs. I mean, it's just the name of the game that way. So that's the biggest thing. We've had a couple of opportunities that we missed, especially early in the game the other day, on some manageable ones that we got to make. But number one thing is we got to stay out of third and longs more than we have the last couple of weeks.
And one more, if you'll indulge me. Kalen said yesterday coaches asked him to be a little bit more vocal last year, and he just wasn't very comfortable in that role. So have you seen him emerge as a vocal leader this year as now an upperclassman?
Yeah, he's definitely starting to get out of his comfort zone there. I mean, his comfort zone has been, like a lot of young guys, to try to, do his part and play well, but not really let himself step out there. And so, yeah, we have pushed him. I mean, he's played a couple years for us now. He knows the defense. He knows our culture. He knows the guys, and specifically in the defensive backfield with our secondary guys. Having some leaders step up for there is very, very important for us. I mean, you need it on offense, you need it on defense, you need it on special teams, but then within these different kind of pods on the team, you need those guys to step up as well. And so we've pushed him. He's starting to get out of his comfort zone and do it more, and we're just kind of continuing to push him along, because I think it's gonna help us, and it's obviously going to help his evolution as a player.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Luca?
Hey, Lincoln, a couple things. Just first, a real quick update. How is Zachariah Branch doing before Saturday? And to be clear, he is dealing with an injury. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. He's done with the injury and progressing, not still hasn't been a full participant yet. I do think he's making progress. We'll kind of watch and see. He's going to, need to continue to make some jumps here to be ready for us. So hopefully he can continue to progress over the next few days. He's in a better place than he was last week, but he's not, not able to do everything yet. So we're, he's eager, but we obviously want to be smart to make sure that we turn him loose at the right time.
And Caleb was talking yesterday at practice just a little bit about how, anticipating that defenses that face you guys are going to kind of copy, specific things or take from previous schemes that kind of work, against you. And we saw against Arizona, obviously they were kind of loading up defensive backs earlier on in the game, some success with the blitz. How much maybe against Arizona, Colorado, Arizona State, are you starting to see kind of any variations or kind of copying of the same, specific defensive principles? You feel like is that something you kind of might see throughout the course of this year?
Yeah, it's always possible. I mean, I don't know that I'd point to anything that any of the three of those groups, did that was, you just said, man, they came out and just copied it and did exactly what somebody else has done. We've certainly seen that before. It certainly happened a couple of times. Certainly happened a couple of times last year. Happened a little bit in this game last year. So it's always on the table. You got to be ready for it. People are going to throw new things at you, whether it's something that they cooked up, or something that they saw somebody else do that they felt like that they liked. And so you got to be ready to go execute. And so, and you don't always know what's in people's heads, right? Like, do they feel like they need that to try to stop you? Do they feel like they can play their base package and do it? I mean, it's kind of the different kind of the little game within the game that you deal with every single week. And so we're, our scheme is here based more upon less upon what the defense is doing and more upon on our guys being able to execute. And hopefully that puts us in a position that regardless of what people do, we can continue to plug along and try to keep scoring points.
Thank you.
Brian Karchi?
Hey, Lincoln. Josh Henson said yesterday that the offensive line, he called it a work in progress. And Justin Dedich said that maybe that the process of that group meshing was a little different this year than last year, just because, they weren't as experienced with each other. I guess I was just curious in terms of what you've seen, how maybe that meshing process has happened this year compared to last.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely different. It's a different setup. You have more guys coming in from different places. The O-line last year was the group that probably had more continuity than any other group on the football team coming in. And you felt that. We're probably a little more talented right now than what we were a year ago. But not having some of these guys, not having, Pregnon until right here, really didn't even have him much at camp. Gino getting hurt, which was, obviously a starter for us right there at the beginning. That's like losing a starting offensive lineman just right there out of the gate. All those things have certainly, had an effect. And we do feel like that we've got a good group right now to work with. There is definite signs of us being able to play the ball that feel like we're going to be capable of playing there, which we think is pretty high. And kind of like the rest of the team, this is time when, this is the second half of the year. This is the time where all those things start to pay dividends and you really start to play a consistent. We've played some really good ball. You're not scoring, we're scoring 50 points a game or whatever we're scoring. You're not doing that without, playing some pretty good ball up there, but we can play better and feels like we're kind of right there on the edge of pushing through and doing that with that group.
RJ?
Hey, Lincoln, as you look at Saturday, what do you expect to be the biggest on-field challenge that Notre Dame's going to bring? And what's the biggest mental challenge that you see for your group going into that game?
I mean, on field that simple, probably obvious. I mean, they're a good team. You're playing a good team at their place. I mean, it's they're a complete team. They're very experienced in a lot of key areas, and you know, they've played in some big games already. I mean, like it's a good football team, well coached football team. Yeah, and then I think in terms of the kind of the intangible side of it, I think it's, you know, you got to handle all parts of this. You got to handle, we've talked a lot about the road. You got to handle the intensity and embrace the intensity and excitement of this game and still settle in and go play great ball. You got to handle the elements and whatever the weather does present. I mean, there'll be a lot of other fun, unique challenges. But again, I mean, that's rivalry game. It's what it should be like. It's two good football teams. It'll be a fun environment. And our guys are very, very excited to go play.
Thank you.
We have time for two more, and so we'll go with two people that haven't asked questions yet. Greg.
Hi, Coach. Couple of just kind of softball type questions. Curious.
I like those softballs. Keep them coming.
Okay, it's going to be high and tight.
There we go.
All right. Have you ever been to Notre Dame? Have you seen a game before at Notre Dame? That's one. And number two, will you do a walkthrough with your team to Notre Dame? And what is your philosophy on walkthroughs the day before a game to adjust your team to the environment?
Yeah, we've no, I haven't been there. Watching Rudy is probably the closest thing, which I've seen probably 5,000 times. So watching that is probably the closest experience that I've had. So looking forward to that for sure. Yeah, some of that depends on like location, where you're staying, what time the game is, all of that. In my past, at times we have gone and done a quick little walk through the stadium, especially if you're playing a night game. This one doesn't quite fit because we're traveling obviously a little bit of ways. And we're going to leave tomorrow morning and get there a little bit earlier, help our guys get adjusted. And so we're going to be busy enough on the schedule, and that combined with where we're staying, you're not able to stay just right next door there. So won't be able to physically do a walkthrough at their place, but yeah, looking forward to getting in there and playing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll wrap it up with Antonio.
Hey, Lincoln, I know there's usually a rotation at inside linebacker during the game, but I know Shane finished the game in overtime in fourth quarter, and Gentry played a lot. Was that something that's kind of by feel and what you see in the game? And also, just what have you seen from Tackett lately?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, I think we felt like all of those guys practiced well enough that we were going to play them, and then we wanted to kind of see how the game unfolded from the linebacker position. And you know, after the first quarter, we really kind of got settled in and had a pretty good stretch of ball. We thought from the backers. We had the one big mistake on the seam ball for a touchdown, and other than that, we were doing some pretty good things in linebacker world. And so yeah, we did. We used those guys. You know, and Shane came in, made some plays. We thought kind of steadied us there a little bit at the end, and kind of liked having him and his experience in there. So kind of a combination of him and Mason and Gentry there at the end, and all were playing at a high level. Tackett's radically improved. I mean, his mistakes have really gone down. He's playing fast. He's learned a lot. It's been a lot coming at him. I mean, for sure. But now super encouraged by his progress. And again, I mean, I feel like that group, and also, I mean, certainly with Trojan firmly in the mix there. I mean, there's still 5 that we feel very comfortable with, and it's been good to keep them fresh because those guys also all play a pretty prominent role in our special teams as well. So there'll always, I think, be some type of rotation in mind, and then as guys get hot or as the game unfolds, then we'll make those decisions real time.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.